This recording is an addendum to my previous recording about estimating. Hopefully you've watched that. If not, I'll do a quick little overview here. But I want to add on risk management and how that should be included in your estimating process. So as we discussed previously, anytime you're doing estimating, there is a cone of uncertainty. And so when you get here to this statement of work phase, what I would like to add to the last video that I didn't cover is how do we manage risk and how does that impact our estimating? So one of the tools that I have implemented and I encourage you to consider as well is a risk estimating tool. And what this is really an Excel spreadsheet where I have gone through, and every time I've done a project and something has gone awry, I have added it to the risk description. So there have been scenarios where people from a resourcing perspective have been assigned to multiple projects. And because of that, I did not have them available when I needed them on my project. And that created delays in the project. As we all know, scope, schedule, budget. You can have two of the three. So if you have somebody who isn't there, the schedule is going to get pushed, which means the budget is going to increase most likely. And so thinking about some of these things ahead of time can really make a difference in the execution of your project. And there is almost always a monetary correlation. And so that's what I love about this tool. It's quite a bit more robust than many I had seen previously. I adopted this from an organization that I worked with, and I've continued to upgrade it and change it and develop it as I've utilized it over the years. So let me walk you through how to use it and how this applies and pertains to estimating. And then in another video, I'm going to show you how we use this as we're actually monitoring the project. So over on the left, anytime I've done a project, we've done a lessons learned, we've learned our lesson, we go in here and we add this. So this is a running template. And I have identified a project and I've probably figured out most of my work breakdown structure or what the things are that I'm going to do. As we discussed previously, there's a number of ways to do that. So look at the different estimating tools in that other video. But the next step is to really think through what the risks are. And so this checklist just really gives you an opportunity to be reminded, and not all of them are going to apply. But if you know that the project you're getting ready to take on is an incredibly complex project, you can come in here and you can give a little bit more detail. You can say, multiple cultures, multiple offices, etc. Those are the reasons that it might be a really complex project. And so then you're going to rank the probability and the impact. So 0 is low, 10 is high. The probability that the complexity of this project is going to be an issue. This is just a gut feel. Is like, let's say maybe we're pretty sure, we know that this is a really complex problem. So it's going to be a 7. The impact is that it's going to, if this is a really complex project and we mess up or we get this wrong, it's a big deal. So that, let's say, is really high too. It might be really low. It might say it's not a big deal that it's complex, in which case you can put a 2. It doesn't really matter. It's just getting you thinking through what's the probability that this risk is going to occur. And if that risk does occur, what's the impact to the overall project? That's going to give you a risk rating. From there, I would recommend that you identify what your mitigation plan is. Again, there may not be a mitigation plan. Accepting the risk is a mitigation plan. So I wouldn't try and mitigate the complexity of the project necessarily. I might say that we're going to do some culture assessments ahead of time. I might say we're going to meet with key stakeholders early and often. Whatever you think you're going to have to do. Just thinking through this process is really important because you may need to go back and change that work breakdown structure or your project plan to include some of these additional things to mitigate these risks. I would identify who the owner is. So maybe it's the project manager who's in charge of making sure that these things are done. And then I would associate a cost with it. So let's say that the culture assessment doesn't get done and the complexity of the project really exponentially inflates the price of the project. We know that it's going to take, and I might say an hourly rate times it's going to take an extra 30 hours on the project, let's say. That's going to give us an overall cost value. And we also know that not every single project is going to have every single risk come true. So we want to identify how many times something is going to happen, how frequently it's going to occur. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually put a formula in place. So let me just copy this formula down here because I don't think it's coming in. But what this formula is going to do is it's going to say that only 10% of the risk are going to actually come to fruition. And then it's going to say how many times are they going to happen and how big of an impact are they going to be. And that's going to calculate the financial number. So in this scenario, we're going to say this is really only going to happen once. And if it happens once, then we need to account for there being $3,675 additional built into the budget. This, you can put a contingency plan in place. You can say, if we don't mitigate this, we're going to do this other thing instead. You can identify what triggers might be. So this is just a good exercise to be thinking about what did you not think about and planning for it and how will you resolve in the event that, that one of these things occurs. Why this is important in estimating is, one, it gets you thinking, but more importantly, what it does is it goes through and then it will actually tally up all the potential risk, and this becomes your contingency bucket. So you can present the work breakdown structure to your client. You can say these are the people that are going to be involved and engaged in the project. You can say these are the travel arrangements. And so this is what we're thinking it's going to cost all up. But we've done this assessment based on all the risk that we see. We suggest that you set aside another $5,000 for the contingency bucket. We will manage to those risks, and I'll show you how we do that in the next video. But it just facilitates a great conversation with the client up front. It shows them that you're really thinking, it differentiates you as an organization, and it helps you cover yourself, and it helps prepare the business owner so that they're not having to go, or I'm sorry, the client, so that they're not having to go back and ask for additional money in the future. So that is risk planning within the context of estimating, and I highly recommend that you do that and you add that to your process if you aren't today. If you would like any help with this, or you would like my template as a starting off point, happy to share that. You can reach out to me at Tabetha at +Delta314. Look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully we can help you serve your clients better.